Well, looky what we got here. Do you recognize it? That's right, baby, we're in business. Well, some of you may remember our little friend here. Actually, it's quite a bit bigger than I am. But anyway, the old Massey Ferguson 165 is back. The owner, so between me and the nephew of the owner, who is 90 years plus, we found him a replacement tractor, a Ford. It had a front end loader on it as well. Sorry, I'm blanking out on the model, but it's a very comparable model to this as far as horsepower. 6,000, 9,000, Ford 9,000, is that right? I don't know. Anyway, a 1965 Ford. Everything works. The uncle or the nephew went and looked at it. I found it online. He went and looked at it. Everything, it started right up. It worked. They paid the money for it. The guy delivered it, I believe even for free. And away we went, but it's just not his Massey. And the nephew made the comment to me that he was kind of in the doghouse with his uncle because, well, when you're 90 plus and you're still on a tractor, you just want what you want. I take it. And the Ford doesn't have it compared to this. You know, this is just what he knows and he loves, and he wants it back. So we are going to get it back to him as best we can. So over the last few months, I have scoured the internet for a replacement block. I got that. Again, this is a Continental G176. Very few that I could find. I found 2 engines or blocks listed. One was complete engine up in Michigan, and that listing was 5 years old. I think it was for $1,200, and they said it had a dead cylinder, and it was, you know, absolutely filthy. It had just been pulled out of the tractor and thrown on a pallet, and there you go. I didn't pursue that one at all. Whether it you know, is still around or not, has been sold or whatever. But then I found this on Wanger's website out of Pennsylvania, tractor salvage yard company. A little bit different of a block as far as castings go. I need to look at the numbers a little closer to even know what I have. But as you can see on this one, we've got reinforcement cast into the side there, and that one does not. But as long as all of our bolt provisions and everything else are the same, I think we're going to be okay. So I'm going to start with pulling hood, cow catcher, hydraulic lines, steering shaft, I suppose, front axle, support the rear, and then we'll start yanking the engine off. Let's get stuck in. Okay, I'm getting close to pulling the front end off. This stand for the bucket is your reservoir for your hydraulics for said bucket. I've got the hoses disconnected. They were going to the pump down here that runs off the front of the crankshaft. That is one thing I need to disconnect yet. And I'm thinking I just do that with these 4 bolts down in there off the front hub. So I'll do that real quick. Otherwise, everything else, power steering's disconnected. All our hoses, our lines that were still connected are off now. So if we look at the block, we have 4 big holes there and there. That is what connect the front axle, you know, the main cast piece. And then down on the pan's an integral part of the support of this thing, so we've got a bolt on each side for that as well. So those 6 bolts. First I'm going to undo the pump, then we'll see if this thing pops loose. I have more ratchet straps on here than a California refugee. Okay, there we go. I think, let's see, tomorrow's Saturday. I may grab a tractor or a forklift or try to borrow something and move this out. I have no all-terrain vehicle that can do that for myself here. Then I can use the cherry picker on the engine, and we will tear that apart and see what we can salvage. So I brought a forklift home from Dad-in-law's. Okay, I actually brought the forklift in a 38 GMC truck home. If you haven't watched that, what are you even doing? But I wanted to bring that so I can relieve the burden off of the cherry picker, because I need that for the engine. So I'm going to wheel this thing out as far as I can by hand, and then we'll try to come up with some way to hook onto it with the forklift and move it aside. So we've got a floaty oil pickup that was mostly plugged. There was even more on this side. I see safety wire on the mains. Not a problem. I see nothing else. Got odd wear patterns on the camshaft. Anyway, I'm going to start tearing this apart and we'll see what the result is. What an interesting little engine. I don't believe I've ever been into something quite like it. It's pretty cool. Got the crankshaft ready to pop out of there whenever I go to town again, drop it off at the machinist. If you've been around a while and you remember when I went and rebuilt the carburetor for this and the clutch didn't work and so forth, it's just completely oil soaked. Otherwise it looks halfway decent yet, but you can see in the bell housing there, just oil has been slung all over the place. And there was very clear evidence of that on the rear main. You could see where oil had been running down for a very long time. So I think that was the primary cause of that. Obviously I'll probably take the flywheel in at the same time as the crank. And then obviously we'll get a new clutch kit. Rods and mains, well, they're in pretty tough shape, as to be expected. But these definitely are standard, the rods. They are stamped standard. And then the mains, I'm assuming they're going to be standard as well. I see no standard marking. I would definitely see oversized marking if they were oversized. I really don't think this thing has ever been opened up before. So that's a good thing. I just need to get it in and figure out how much they're going to have to grind it before I can order my engine kit. So that's kind of been my push here lately is, I mean, I want to get it done, obviously, but I need to order that kit and get that coming. I could even start putting sleeves in and pistons in while this is at the machinist, but I needed to know if the crank needs to be ground. And boy, you can sure feel it. So we are definitely going to have to wait and see how much they take out of that, and then I can order. The biggest disappointment here is just that I'm having to do it like this. I just have no room left anywhere, so, which is a good problem in a way. Well, guys, it's been a very long time since we've been working on the tractor, and I'm sick of it being in here, to be honest with you. And the guy needs it back. He has a replacement, but he'd rather have this thing. But it took literally 6 months to get our crankshaft back from the machine shop. I don't even remember if I've showed you the replacement block, but let's take a closer look at what I'm doing today. I'm not even set up in here with a camera or anything. All I have is my phone, but I'm at least going to show you today what I'm doing, and then when we move on and get a little more serious, I'll have it set up for you. Okay, so very interesting construction. This, of course, is the Continental G176. You can find parts. I've got the wet sleeves, the cylinders, the pistons, the bearings, as far as mains and rods, gasket set, clutch, throwout bearing, all from, I believe, yesterday's tractors. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I got them from. Could not find on there, however, cam bearings. They may have had a cam. I can't remember available. But it seems like valve train is a little bit more hard to come by. Certainly a block is very hard to come by. We really lucked out in finding that out of Pennsylvania. These Continentals, for whatever reason, they've just been gone through, and you just can't find them hardly. Now, these also came with a gas Perkins and a diesel Perkins, so if you have the same situation, I have no idea. I have not checked out availability of either of those two, but maybe doing a conversion to a Perkins is an option if you're running into similar problems. But anyway, I wanted to today pull the cam, get this block stripped down so it can be thrown outside, and then we can start swapping out rods, switch the camshaft over, get the lifters out, just basically strip this down to a bare block and get it out of here and start focusing on our new one. Now, I plan on reusing the camshaft. It was fine. The teeth on the gears, the timing set are fine. I looked for cam bearings, couldn't find a set. And it turns out, I hadn't even looked till now, it's the same on the other block. Only the front journal has a bearing. The other two are purely engine block. See, we got the bearing there, no bearing, no bearing. So I find that fascinating. Evidently it worked out for him. I don't know why. Some of you guys may know the ideas and the theories behind that. Another interesting thing is I wanted to treat this like a stove-bolt Chevy. So when the cam was in there, this was here, and I wanted to get to my two bolts. I wanted to get to my two bolts of the thrust plate behind there. They've got two provisions for that, it seems. But the center hub of the gear overlaps, when this is all installed behind here, it overlaps the heads of the bolts. So you can't get a socket, even through the holes, through the provisions, you can't get a socket onto the head of the bolt. And that, if you could do that, just like a stove-bolt Chevy, that would allow you to pull the gear out with the camshaft. Couldn't do it. So I had to run to the other shop, get my 3/4 drive socket set. The nut is still in that socket over there. Pull that off, pull the gear off. Then I could remove this, pull the camshaft out. So anyway, just kind of interesting going through this old dog. I think I already said we could absolutely get this cleaned up, reground, clean up the lifters, but I don't want to wait another 6 months for that. I should have taken it in if we were going to do that back then already. So I don't think there's any problem with them. They look okay, so we're just going to run with it. And then there's a crank reground. So I'm going to do what I said, and we will meet you when we're moving on to something else, I guess. Okay, well, here's one of my lifters. I got to show you guys some of this stuff. They're looking really good, and you can see where they've been running, of course, which isn't surprising even in the best of conditions, but you can't feel anywhere, so I'm pretty comfortable reusing these things. I ran a bore brush through the bores there, so that'll be good.
It's a beautiful fit. I'm amazed. Baby, I'm amazed by you. I have a great opportunity here to really mess things up and learn a lot. Our manual that I thought we had is really a whole tractor manual, and there's actually very little dedicated to the specific Continental engine other than re-ringing the thing. And, you know, there's a few things in there, but when you really need information, it's severely lacking. So we really got to, you know, even like timing marks, they're a bit confusing on here. I know top dead center on my crank, but my cam, on the other hand, I've got this mark here, which is not top dead center, and then I have these two little pinpricks there. Now, when my crank is on top dead center, obviously that should be pointing towards the center line of the cam. So I just need to make sure my lobes are where they need to be on number one. But I'm thinking, as for the marks that I have, that should be right. I don't think there's any others on that thing. I have no clue what that would be for. Maybe another application. But anyway, plastigaged. I threw the crank in there, plastigaged the bearings. They're all looking really good. They're all between 2 to 3 thousandths. The center one is by far the one we got the most squish on. I'm trying not to wash it out. There we go. So that could be closer to 1.5 thousandths. On our big end wall main on the rear one here. So that's all looking really good. I will clean all that up. I'm going to double check what I'm doing with the camshaft here, and then we will get our crank installed correctly. Well, we had a bit of an issue with bearings. I believe I showed you everything, but if not, you'll catch up as we go through this. From, I said yesterday's tractors, I don't know if they're like a branch or a merger or something of Allstate. There's like Parts ASAP and Allstate's Ag, and I don't know what else. Some mega conglomerate for tractor parts. Anyway, I got the full kit, and the kit came with bearings, right? Well, these must be for... so these tractors had two options of Perkins, a gas or diesel, and then your Continental gas. These must be for one of the Perkins because they were completely wrong, and they were ultra cheap because I only got, with my return, like 20 bucks, and they didn't even want me to send them back. So I had to go to Gen Sales, if you've ever heard of that part, or that part supplier, and it cost me, for my mains and then all my connecting rods, over $300. So, you know, the tractor's worth nothing without them. And the sticky part is, the originals weren't even necessarily bad. I wouldn't doubt they were worn down some. We could have stuck them back in, but we had to have our crankshaft ground, and that means 10 over on the mains, and we ended up at 20 over on the rods. So originals wouldn't have worked. We had to get something new. So I am going to first of all install our crankshaft, and then we will move on to sleeves. All right, we have a bit of a special operation with our rear main here, and we'll get into that when we need to seal it up. You know, it's a big end wall piece, and so we obviously have to seal up the sides here somehow. And if I'm reading things right, we do that after the main is installed. But the bottom end is chamfered. So basically we are going to force feed this thing silicone down through these tubes when this is installed. And they said to file an air gap so that you can push the air out and therefore getting the cavity filled. These are already chamfered, so either that means they did it at the factory or somebody's already been through this. Not sure. We're going to drop our crank in. See if I can hit my mark. And we did. A little more slickum. There's number one. Number two. And what did I do with number three? Over here. Went ahead and threw a new gasket under the cover of the oil pump. Everything else looks pretty good in there. And now I'm just going through, kind of doing what a guy would do on an engine. I'm not giving any specs here because I don't know any particular specs. So why share them if I don't know them, huh? Alright, in the book of instructions, okay, there was a sheet that came with the gasket kit. They said to put a little washer on here and then snip this below it, and that would help you seal up the end. I'm just going to try, just jamming it as hard as I can in the top here. And what I want to see is some squish out on the bottom where that chamfer is. And that would be down there. Well, okay, I got some out that side. Oh yeah, we're coming out down there too. Just give it a little more mustard. Just to be doubly sure here. Now we're going to pull this out. Finish topping this off. And then we will trim that flush when it's all dry. For now, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Well, it's time to get greasy. I've opened up and installed one of our sleeves, and I've taken care of the piston on the rod and the bearings. Just making sure everything's checking here. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and throw this first piston in without you, and on number 2 we'll start over and do everything from scratch, but I just want to make sure everything's good to go here first. 1 down, 3 to go. All things considered, went fairly smoothly. About what you'd expect. Okay, these are, I'm pretty sure what they call wet sleeves. Basically, you have a completely loose cylinder inside your block there. There's just thin little bosses that everything seals up against. And if you want an expert's opinion, you're going to have to go somewhere else. I do very little with ag type assemblies, and this is certainly no exception. So we have a pre-fit piston inside our cylinder there. See if I can get this guy out. Okay, and this is why I'm doing it this way, just to keep everything together and in line. I'm doing a sleeve, putting it in, doing the corresponding piston change, putting it in, and moving it on to the next one. I don't want any, they may all be 100% perfect and matching, but I don't want to get any mix-ups here. And over here, well, let's just take a look down inside at what we're talking about. So we have a very thin webbing or bossing or whatever you want to call it on the top and down on the bottom. And that seals up. Of course, the head gasket, I think, is the only thing that seals it on the top side. And then the bottom webbing down here, you have O-rings that seal that portion of it up. So I've come in with emery cloth, and I have cleaned up everything that our sleeves need to be concerned about. I think in the manual they recommended either brake fluid or Vaseline. I'm breaking all the rules here. I'm using Sil Glide. Honestly, I think anything you use is better than nothing, but they were the experts on their engines, not me. So you may not want to do as I do, right? So we're going to get these guys going in their grooves. And what I do when I'm dealing with an O-ring like this, take a pick, and we go around, and that should help remove any twist in that O-ring. Same thing. Just want to be sure not to stab the O-ring, right? Okay. Make sure everything's greased up nicely. And then these cutouts, these castellations, that is actually providing room for your rod. So your rod going this way, reciprocating. So that is a side-to-side placement on this particular engine. So we should just get a nice, firm. Let me make sure I get this lined up good. Nice firm push. Should do it. Now for our piston. Double check this is indeed number 2. Yes, it is. You have a snap ring, kind of like a U-joint. Okay, there it goes. Just do one side. Should be able to push this pin out of here. Oh, that one's difficult. That one's difficult. Guess I'll have to take this one out. Okay. We have an actual snap ring on the new one. Something like that. Push it out only as far as we need to. And then from the front, this longer tail. So front's pointing towards me, front of the piston. The longer side is to the left, is what I'm trying to convey to you fine people there. Get this going. Everything fits beautifully, by the way. Everything is oily. Could have thrown some more oil on that pin, but it's really not necessary. Floats up and down on the pin, but there's no play at all in there. So I'm feeling good about the bushings so far. Get our pin going, or a clip. Okay. Bad bearing. Make sure that oil hole is clear. Indeed it is. New rod bearings. All of these are individually packaged, so I'm checking each one to make sure they are 20 over. Indeed they are. no debris, human or otherwise. Our number 2 rod cap. I'm having to use such a little table. I feel like I'm just a little short on room here. That's okay. Okay. Number 2, we will keep those in order. Number 1, number 2. A little lube on the old bearings. Looks like bloody snot, which is disturbing. And why did I mention it? We're just going to briefly dunk it in the oil and let her drain back out. My crank pin, crank journal is all the way down on this one, which is perfect. Got no rod bolts to worry about. Just make sure we don't get the rod scraping everything. Okay. I'm going to lift this up a little. Give us some tightening room. I don't know where it thinks it's going. Okay. Sometimes those oil scraper rings can be a bear. Ah, got her though. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna make sure it goes down onto the crank okay. We don't just gouge everything. And there we go. Half done. I'm going to repeat that twice more. I don't know that you really need to see it. How about you rewind the video twice and watch that over again, okay? Plastic gauge on 2 center caps. I've got the handy Hastings out here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go to 40. Okay. Alrighty. That is looking pretty good. Two thousandths. So I will clean that up, grease it, reinstall them, turn it, do the next. So a guy was like, hey, I'm going to go get the head and proceed, you know, through normal channels here. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. I could hang this, get this kind of buttoned up, the oil pan, the front cover. I could hang it on the front of the bell housing and get rid of the stand and go from there. Even get the front axle on and so on and so forth. So I have been scrubbing and cleaning our front cover. I may throw some paint on it eventually. I believe this double bearing apparatus here is part of the governor system. Don't really know. Sounds good to me. This thing lined up. I've got new seals here. And then this takes a felt in front of it, like that. Then I've got a new, I pulled that little fork out. It looks just like a clutch fork on that bearing deal. There are needle bearings. Spent a long time, didn't realize it at first when I pulled this shaft out. Needle bearings here and in here. And then a seal and then a felt under this. So that's all taken care of and replaced. So I will get all these in. That isn't right. I don't think that's right. That's a 3-bolt. Power steering apparatus on the back side of that is what that's doing. My eldest male sibling works in the aircraft industry, has his whole career, you know. And then he goes home and he does it for fun, right? I borrowed this safety wire pliers from him, goodness, half a year ago, more, I don't know. Said I'd get it right back to him. Anyway, we'll get it, you know. It was a cheap spare. You gotta have patience, guy. All right. Give these things a quick spin here. Get down there. Come on. Well, I think we're set. I've got my bottom end oiling complete. Should be ready to go. Find this gasket interesting, to say the least. Guess to save material and space, they dovetailed the centers of it. With a little RTV, it should be fine. Speaking of, where did I throw? Did I finish that tube? Well, I've always got more. Maybe that's the tube I took to the other shop and used on the stove bolt. I don't know. I can't find it. Can't find the tip I cut. I can't find anything, so I'm going to put a little bit on the seams here. And then I'm going to put some right under where our dovetails are. Something like that. Just to be safe and have fun, we'll add a little more. I want to remind you guys that this has not ever been intended to be a restoration by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, I want to do the best I can for a guy, but this is a get it back to work as efficiently as possible kind of job. And maybe I'm just trying to make myself feel better saying all that. But anyway, having said that, I'm cleaning everything up as I go. I will, like the front cover, the oil pan, I will squirt some paint at those in the general direction at the very least, you know, and make them look a little better. But can we get it up and running and back to work is all I am primarily concerned about. Well, the shop is in a highly volatile state. You know, I used about 4 of these on cleaning out our bell housing area there, getting that all going, and you know, we're just not going to light up the Prince Albert, you know, for a little while, and we'll be okay. It's good for the lungs, right? No, I've got the door open right here. None of that represents the truth. I mean, I did clean it out with a lot of brake cleaner, but I just don't inhale, right? No, that's not the truth either. Okay, anyway, this thing's long tenure, this long sabbatical here on the engine stand is about to end. I'm going to lift this thing up and rear main, flywheel, and the rest of the clutch. Yeah. Now, this morning I made a point to look back at my video files, and it has been, we're just like a week shy of this project being in this shed for a whole year, which is ridiculous. Granted, at least 6 months of that, the crankshaft was in the machine shop. Still, 6 months for my part of it seems ridiculous. But anyway, I guess there was a lot of searching and waiting on a block as well in there. Basically, the amount of footage I literally have like a country mile of digital film, you know, which is too much. So you can see that I've done more work. Last Saturday, I really tried to get to the point where we could fire this thing. And when I filled up the radiator with antifreeze, with coolant, then we had a leak coming right out the water pump, you know. So I had to do some more scrounging, and if I would have bought parts again, according to what the internet says is what the Continental needs, it would have been wrong. So let's just double check. I don't know why I'm showing you all this, because it's not going to be in this video, but this should be quite a funky little water pump, yeah. And this is brand new, apparently. And that looks like what I need. It's quite the water pump, isn't it? Anyway, so I made the call. I'm going to dig into this Saturday, see if I can make some progress there. It's going to be in excess of 100 degrees outside, and so probably most of this afternoon I'm going to be inside getting this video ready, and then we will do hopefully one final one coming up where we fire it up, we hook up the bucket, we get it rolling, we tear around a little, we redeliver it, get it out of here. Then maybe a guy can start focusing once again on his own projects like the Corvair. I have so much in the house I want to do and just never take the time to do it. Things like that. So for the rest of this morning, I'm going to get busy on this. I will be recording, and I will finish this up with you sometime. You know how it goes. I'm already kind of tired and want to go back to bed. God bless you guys. We'll see you on the next one.